Guten Tag. I'm Mariano Sardón. I'm going to be the moderator in the interactive art category. So welcome everybody, and thank you for coming. Well, I tried to share with you some thoughts about jury meetings sessions that I'm trying to give an idea of the things that emerged according the deliberation of the jury members. So I'm going to introduce just these ideas and along 5 or 10 minutes, and then Masaki is going to explain us his projects, and finally Andrea and Michel will do the same. So one of the first things we found in as jury members was that the interactivity or the interactive art category is one of the most perhaps classical or well-known category. This is because it has more tradition. Many of the works have strong references with past works. So it's much difficult to find new strategies in terms of art and technology relationship. So one of the main topics during our jury sessions was that the interaction is an experience itself, so it's very difficult to define in some cases according a video or a paper you had just to read and elaborate conclusions. So we had around, I guess, 400 applications, and we has to reject a big number of them, which was really very difficult. One of the main topics we discussed during the meeting was the issue of what kind of areas are involved in the interaction design, despite this relationship between art, technology, and science. We found particularly interesting that the way to relate with this relationship depends a lot of regions, depends a lot of cultural, economical, and political aspects. That would be one of the main topics we discussed during the session meetings. This is very interesting because we usually think that technology and science applied to art or art in relationship with science and technology it's common in every it's equal in different parts of the world because of the universality of science and technology. Let us to think about it. But when you start to interact these areas with the cultural traditions on the history of science and technology of each region, you start to create a new aesthetics. And this was particularly interesting for us because we as jury members came from different regions of the world and very different backgrounds. We had artists, we had curators, and we came from Latin America, from North America, from Europe, from Asia. So it was interesting that we had many different aesthetics and many different ways to relate the technology and art. This was very, you can think in a very more easy way. Perhaps many of you are familiarized with Newton's laws or quantum mechanics or programming codes, perhaps. For sure, these are theories that they are the same all over the world. But the way that these theories impact on the cultural tradition of each region are completely different. And this generates a new or a different kind of aesthetics that we had to take into account in our decisions. Other important for us considerations looking at the interactions or the works that involves interactivity was the different dimensions of interactivity. Many of the works were about technology development, which were very interesting in some cases, and other ones had to be more in the tradition of the art, for instance, a kinetic sculpture that reacts depending on something. This kind of works were settled in most of the part perhaps on art or in the technology or in science conceptions. And in such a way we try to find projects that balance a dialogue among these different areas, which is very difficult because that's the reason, because we needed to know the way that these processes were achieved by artists. So in this sense, we had to make many discussions about these kind of things, like, well, is this work more oriented for technology or art or science and that kind of things. And finally, the three projects we are going to present today they have a strong strategy, and they have a strong form, a strong strategy in relation with the human dimension and technology. That is one of the most difficult parts to detect, because much of the interactivity works has to do, as I mentioned, with certain tool developments or technologies, sensing something, or that kind of things, which is a very specific conception of the human in a system. It's a very specific conception of a human since a point of view, since a way to perceive the world. Much of the works deals with the Cartesian point of view of the world, and they conceive the human body involved in a system which is parametricized and and triggers different things and that kind of stuff. This is a very usual conception, and we wanted to look at other kinds of, or the intention to give another kinds of conceptions of interaction, trying to pointing out a different way to think or conceive the space, the body involved in the space, and this relationship with technology in a very different way. So finally, as I mentioned, we are going to present three works that involves very different conceptions of the space, the relationship with the body, and the interactivity. So the first that is going to present us is Masaki, who is going to talk about his work. Thank you.